Welcome. So, I don't know about you, but I started working out a lot at home during quarantine. I know some people also just started to eat and drink a lot, but I got a Peloton tread right before quarantine started and not anticipating quarantine, but just wanting to improve my overall fitness level. And I fell in love with the Peloton tread at the store. It was just super soft, and I had no desire to get the bike, even though people love it. I liked the idea of having all the classes right there in the tread, and to have this kind of guided hikes and runs and walks, etc. And so during quarantine, I've used it a lot, and yay, Team Peloton. And one of the frustrations over quarantine, there have been many, but getting personal gym equipment at home. I have some of the Peloton weights, and I tried to get some lighter weights, and they just were constantly sold out, and they were sold out of every store for the longest time. But then I started to switch to some of the online boot camps and really just exercises that were easier to do at home. I live on the top of a mountain in the Bay Area, and so I was able to go hiking a lot, which was fantastic. But then we had the fires, and so we were stuck indoors. So things like, breath work and yoga and Pilates and other exercises like that, even bar exercises, were easier to do just even in your living room, right? But I started to do more of those exercises, and it just made me question, whether or not, as lockdown kind of lifts, whether or not I will go back into gyms or not. But it also, gave me pause to think about health and wellness overall. And so I know many of you are kind of in the same boat, or maybe you're kind of on the other end of it, and you're now like, oh crap, I need to make up for these quarantine 19, I think they're calling it, quarantine 20, I don't know. This extra weight that maybe you put on because the combination between, food, drink, and Netflix, started to tip the scales in the wrong way. But so as part of this series, I wanted to reach out to some of the people who are making our lives better in terms of our overall health and wellness. And one of my favorite products comes from Detroit, my hometown, and from a female founder. So it just checks all sorts of boxes for me. And I'm not going to steal her sunshine that she's going to share with us shortly about her products, but Stefanie Miller has what I consider to be a really unique product, a product that I use, that my son uses indoors and outdoors, and I just love it. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to Stefanie Miller to talk about her company, Barreletics, as part of our Founder Friday series. And really the aim of this series is to allow founders to share their stories so that we can support the success of their businesses. And we're also doing Startup Saturdays to dive deeper into some of these companies. But I think the founder story is an important one because we can all really learn from each other. And especially as female founders, I feel like we need to do our best at supporting each other in terms of learning, resources, introductions, purchasing each other's products and services. And so, I'm happy to have Stefanie here to share her journey as an entrepreneur and a little bit more about Barreletics and her products today. So welcome, Stefanie.
Hi, Angel. Thanks for having me on. Nice to see you.
Yeah, great to see you too. Yeah, I should have also mentioned that my sister and my dad also have your product.
Right. That's right. Your father loves the product.
Yes, he does. It's like become a yoga freak. So, yeah. So, you can say hi to everyone out there because we are hopefully going to help you maximize sales for the end of this year.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. It's wonderful to kind of virtually see you.
Yes. So, Stephanie, it would be great to hear a bit about your story in terms of, how you came up with the idea for your products, what they are, since I've just been elusive so far, and your journey in becoming an entrepreneur. So, yeah, please do tell us, your story as a mom, as an entrepreneur, as a founder of your company, and where kind of Barreletics has come from and where it's at now.
Okay. All right. So basically, I started doing bar a little over 3 years ago. And for those of you that don't know what bar is, it's yoga meets Pilates meets ballet. So it's a combination of all these three exercises, and you literally work every muscle in your body. So I was doing the workout for about 6 months, and they have you wear these, and I don't want to be condescending, but they have you wear these ridiculous socks. So it's like all these adults are working out in a studio and we're wearing socks with like these grippy dots on the bottom, like essentially like a hospital sock, And I'm like, okay, this isn't working. I'm slipping. I can't seem to hold my positions long enough to, to feel stronger and better in class. So the idea literally popped into my head when I was in side plank and slipping. And I came up with this. Can I show the product?
Yes, of course.
Grippy performance skin. And it's injection molded. And I have everything. All of the products are made here in Detroit. So anyway, it took about, I would say, after I came up with the idea, it took me about 3 months to find someone that could actually create it on the CAD for me. And the design process took almost a year, which is insane. But we had to make sure that if I was going to invest money into the tooling, which is very expensive, it had to be correct. And you can't like cut off people's pressure points, or their bunions can't get in the way, things like that. You have to really take all of that very seriously. So in the meantime, once the idea popped into my head, that night I went home and I started researching silicone. And this is sort of an interesting story. I started researching silicone, buying a bunch of silicone off of Amazon, thinking, oh, I'm going to create my own little cocktail and I'm going to paint it on a wooden foot, and then I'm going to peel it off and cut it up. But in the meantime, I was sitting in bed buying all this stuff, and I'm drinking out of a water bottle that had a silicone sleeve. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to peel this sleeve off. And I did. I literally peeled it off. 30 minutes later, after cutting it up, I put it on my foot and I wore it into class the next morning. And I'm like, boom, genius idea. I have to do this. So I wanted to show you.
That is true innovation, by the way.
Isn't that crazy? I know. Yeah. There's got to be something better than what's out there. And I've literally bought every hospital sock on the planet and nothing was working,
Yeah. So yeah, there we go.
Yeah, this is it right here. I mean, some of the pieces have since fallen off because I've taken it to
that's the original prototype.
This is the original prototype that I wore. So there's a sock inside here so you can sort of understand it. But really, this is then what I came up with.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Sort of an interesting concept. So, and your toes are exposed because, as some of you may or may not know, when you're doing yoga, your toes, you need to be able to splay for balance. Sorry. It's funny. I'm going the opposite. Throwing me off a little bit, but and it's really late here. Anyway, so your toes need to be exposed for balance, and that's why it has the open toe design.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
Yeah. And you had them in lots of different colors and for water, land, Mars in the future, maybe.
Yes, exactly. So basically bar, yoga, Pilates, karate, kickboxing. My son uses them in karate. I have a ton of customers that are using them for paddleboarding, boating, kayaking. I actually just had a customer send me a picture that she bought a pair for kayaking and she loves them. So, it's great. They're impenetrable by shells and rocks. So if you end up on some rocky beach, you can actually get off and walk and not worry about cutting your feet,
Yeah,
and they don't stay waterlogged like the regular, water shoes do. They dry almost instantly, so they're easy to travel with. You can just throw them in your suitcase and not have them be damp and gross.
Yep. Well, I think I told you one of the times that I wore mine, I was on Venice Beach and it was just like Bronco was surfing and I think I surfed that day too. And, the beach is really big and that sand is so hot.
It's so hot.
Oh my God. And so when you're wearing like flip-flops, it's impossible to like go really quick across the sand. So I wore them surfing and then I walked across the sand and I was like, oh my God, this is a godsend. And then another time that I wore them where I was like, oh my God, these are a savior, was when we were in Tokyo. And I mean, we were staying at the Ritz, somewhere beautiful where I'm sure it's incredibly clean and all that. But I just have this thing about like, I wanted something to wear in the shower.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Like, when I was younger, I had a planner's wear and they said that I got it from like the soccer showers and it was so painful. And so ever since then, when it comes to public showers, I'm like, I have to have like something on my feet. I am not going through that again. So we're in like, the Ritz in Tokyo and I'm like, I have to put these on.
That's so funny. My father wears them in showers when he's on trips because he gets freaked out. But again, you can also use them in the swimming pool and not worry about slipping in or around the pool. They work for all of that and great for kids as well. Plus they're unisex.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think you have a few slides to share today, right? To show kind of, some of the other colors that you've got and some of the other kind of use cases. Do you want to share those now?
Sure, I would love to.
Okay, cool. Yay!
There it is. So Barreletics, and then the dragonfly is the logo. Dragonfly is known as the ballerina of insects, which is sort of interesting considering that, bar is yoga meets Pilates meets ballet. So that's sort of where I came up with the logo idea. And of course, you can see I have 7 colors right now. And the blue is actually pretty popular.
Yeah, I have the blue. I love the blue.
No, that's right. You do have the blue. Yeah, they look great on you.
Yeah, I think so too.
And there you go. And then, we use the hashtag get a grip and also let us knock your socks off all the time. Just because.
Oh, sorry. I just think those are the best hashtags.
Right. It kind of makes sense. It's a grippy shoe. It's grippy all over. And then the let us knock your socks off refers to everyone that does bar wears the socks. And of course, we're trying to create a bit of an upheaval in the industry with these.
Yeah, because, I go to a place called Stretch Lab, and it's basically professional stretching where, certain stretches are just really hard to do on your own. And so they have professional flexologists, I think they're called, and and kind of like a physio would do, or somebody of that nature. And we're supposed to wear those grippy socks, and so I've started to wear my Barreletics.
Wow, I should reach out to them. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, that would be a good collab, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
And did you have some other slides you want to share?
I think there's a few. I think I have a few more. Let's see. Okay, well, that's just us showing that you can use them indoor and outdoor. I do have, I'll show you on another slide. You'll see the difference between the two. They're very, very similar, but you have the option to go either or. Obviously the one on the left, the in studio, that's actually me in the front and my best friend behind me modeling. I pull her in anytime that I have a photo shoot. I'm like, I need you.
Yeah.
Yes.
You guys look fabulous.
Thanks. And then obviously the girl on the right, they're fantastic for barefoot running on the beach volleyball. Because again, just like you said earlier, when you have flip-flops on the sand, never works out. Whereas these just sort of, conform to your foot. And obviously there's a lot of flexibility as well. So they're way more comfortable than a flip-flop.
Yeah, because you would not be wanting to do that position on that bar without something on your foot.
Definitely not. Here's the difference. You can see obviously on the left where there are some holes in the bottom, and it just allows a little bit more breathability when you're in class. Whereas you want more coverage when you're outside with the shoe on the right, which is the aquatic performance skin.
Yeah.
And then these are just people actually that posted that have worn the product. You can just see the different uses.
And everyone's super fit. I love it. I like that performance skin.
It took a long time to get there. It's really funny that the name has sort of changed over time. I was super adamant early on to call them, the Aquatic 14 and then the Element 14. Element 14 on the periodic table is silicone. And because these shoes resemble silicone, I was dead set against sticking to that name. But then as time went on, I realized it was probably not the best idea. Let's just call it what it is. People don't want to think about a product. They just want to be told what and how to use it. So after many years of sticking with one idea, I finally convinced myself to go the other way.
Well, I think a lot of us do that, like as entrepreneurs, we like have something, it's our baby, right? And so we fall in love with it. And then, once we get enough, feedback from the market or from, customers or prospective customers, then, it allows us to iterate over time. And then sometimes it's like, well, do I need to be stubborn about this? Really, I'm here to serve the customer. And if this is like this message, this, whether it's the copy or the brand or even the product itself, we have to adapt to make it easier for the customer to purchase and easier for them to appreciate the value that we're offering.
Absolutely. It's so true. And it's hard to sometimes veer off path, so to speak, but yeah, you do. You just have to think about the customer. And it's hard when you're creating a product to do that because you are so set in your way.
Yeah. And that laser focus is what helps you get to the stage that you've got to. So it's a hard balance to strike sometimes.
It is true. So true. And these are just some of the other colors. And then obviously it's telling you that it's constructed of a proprietary polymer blend. We actually had a scientist come up with the concoction. So we own the material, and there, the material isn't out there. It's a completely invented idea for the material as well.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I could see potentially other products down the line, right, from that material.
Exactly. I've already, I have so many other ideas for the material.
Yep.
Yeah. And then this is just showing
really fast in that photo.
Isn't that amazing? I'm like, look, you can barefoot run. I mean, that was a really hard position. See, that's what bar does for you. You get really
yeah. Isn't it like the Ethiopian track team or someone who trains barefoot? I can't remember who. And I was like,
it is. I think it's. I also want to say that in the Amazon, there's.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there we go.
Mm-hmm.
Cool.
Yeah, and then there's our hashtags, which is interesting too. Early on I looked up that you can actually purchase hashtags. You can own hashtags. though it's not necessary, but you can make it part of your brand, which is
Your
sort of
trade.
an interesting idea.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I'm sure a lot of people don't know about that for sure.
Mhm. Mhm.
And then getting people to use it is always a challenge, but these ones are so suited. I like it.
Thank you. Yeah, and so I also designed a yoga pant that's lightly padded at the knee. It's patent pending as well. I had the fabric sourced responsibly from Italy, and then of course had everything made here in Detroit. They're super comfortable. They just have light padding, especially when you're doing floor exercises and yoga. Those yoga mats, they're still super thin and they're not that comfortable. and the older I get, the more uncomfortable it is. So I had this idea to design these pants.
I like
Thanks.
like maybe one, like everyone likes to have a big butt now. You can
Add some padding. I love
yeah,
it.
I need them for cycling because I don't know how people do the cycling because I just like, I'm well endowed in the butt area, and so you would think that it's like easier or more comfortable, but it's not. It's so painful.
So funny. You mean to add the padding to the pants?
Yeah.
You're wearing some. Yeah, my boyfriend has the underwear with the bike seat built in.
Oh yes, yeah.
I
Cycling shorts. Yeah, yeah.
love it.
I was thinking of something slightly more fashionable, but yes, I have seen those.
Great.
Those are the serious bikers. They're all around here in Marin.
That's so great. Yeah, and then this just gives you more information on the pants, of course. Everybody's looking for these days 4-way stretch, especially when you're doing bar yoga, Pilates, you're moving in all directions and you need the material to move with you. So I found that to be a very important feature that I wanted to have in my yoga pants.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there we go. There's my son who's about to leap off into the pool. He's with 2 friends. Yeah, Xander. Anyway, and I feel more confident when he's wearing the shoes and I don't have to worry about him, falling or slipping from the pool. Just a little message about how I came up with the idea.
Yeah.
So I have this on my website as well.
And what is we'll put it up, but what is your website?
Yes, so it's Barreletics.com, and it's Barreletics with a CS, BARRELETICS.com.
Great. Thank you for sharing those. So have you funded everything to date? Have you raised finance? Are you planning to?
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I go back and forth as to what my next steps are going to be. I have self-funded so far, and I do have a business partner that I brought on that has a background in the aftermarket car industry. So he helped create the tooling. So he also helped fund the project. And we're sort of at the crossroads where we're debating if we need to go after more capital or if I'm going to continue to try to self-fund this. So I don't know. I was listening to a podcast this morning, and they actually talk about founders going through this very thing. They're not sure, if they need to, or if they should, or if it's a mistake to do it, or if it would be a mistake not to do it. Yeah. So I do wrestle with that.
Yep. Yeah, it's tough. I mean, you want to retain as much, ownership and equity in the business as you can, but sometimes you need that extra capital to take the business to the next stage in terms of getting product on shelves and distribution and all of that. And so you're primarily direct to consumer right now?
Consumer, but it's interesting. I just reached out. I'm starting to work with a bar studio, and there's 50 of them across the US. And I basically have this one girl who is going to help me try to get into these places. And, and I'm doing it so they don't have to carry the product, because especially since COVID, a lot of these studios, they're hurting. They don't have the financials to be able to invest in inventory. So I sort of have this I kind of came up with this concept. I don't know if it's like the Mary Kay concept, where you pass the, they become like your sales force. They go out and they make money and they post. And so, yeah, instead of them having carrying inventory, all they need are 2 codes. I'm going to give them codes, and then they can start selling the inventory to their clientele and to their followers. Yeah. And so we have this whole like new concept that I've come up with, and we'll see what happens with it.
Yeah.
I'm excited about it.
Affiliate marketing, if you can get the targeting right, is can be very powerful. So that would be a great network to tap into, especially when, you want to support other small business owners who many of them can't really pivot that business so much. Some of them have turned to online classes, which is great, but a lot of people are offering those for free. So, unless they're paid for classes, that's not a new income stream. It's just, keeping the relationship with the customer going. So any new income streams, I'm sure, would be really helpful to, to a lot of these small business owners, like the yoga studio owners, etc.
And that's what I'm thinking. I think it would be a helpful for me, but also very helpful and beneficial for them,
Sure. So, there might be some people out there that have ideas and, and maybe during, quarantine, they've thought like, okay, well, maybe I should just put more attention and actually focus and maybe try one of these new ideas I've had. What kind of advice or, what would you say to people out there who, haven't ever been an entrepreneur before and have ideas and are kind of contemplating, developing new business ideas or new businesses?
Yeah. So my advice would be just definitely do the research in the industry that you're about to go into, and make sure that what you're creating would actually help the industry. Because otherwise you're sort of chasing something that you may lose out on, I don't, but I also don't want to discourage anyone because, okay, let me start over. I'm just going to say this. The best advice I can give you is don't talk to anybody about it. Just know your industry and then just do it. And then after you've actually done something with it, then start to tell people, because everybody has sort of a negative, they want to talk you out of it, or, and it can be discouraging. So, and I don't want to be that person.
Yeah. Well, I think there are, for a lot of people, it's hard for them to imagine the entrepreneur's journey, right? Because it just sounds like it's filled with a lot of risk, and it is filled with a lot of risk. And so I think there's a lot of well-intentioned people out there that will discourage you from pursuing the dream, right? But I think, you rightly point out, you have to understand if there's a real market for the product. You have to understand if there are customers who are, potentially interested and willing to pay, and how much they're willing to pay.
Right.
And also how much it costs to actually get to those customers who are willing to pay. So I think you're right in terms of all the research entailed with the market opportunity. So then you can start to look at, okay, well, if it costs me X to produce, then how many customers do I have before I actually make my money back, right? And when do I start to make a profit? And, and you can have, there's lots of different ways you can test consumer demand, and also, like you said, looking at all the other kind of products that are available in the market. But, that helps at least mitigate the risks involved with, starting that journey. But I think you're right. I think seeking out opinions of people who are not going to directly help you answer some of those questions or build that business, can sometimes be demotivating, for sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, one of my businesses, I remember one of my businesses in Detroit, people told me I was absolutely nuts. I was crazy. And then a few years later, they were like, how do I get in? How do I get in? I'm like, crazy. You ain't getting in.
That's right. Too late. You failed. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
My
Oh,
crazy's walking to the bank. No. Yeah, but even beyond that, like it's really hard as an entrepreneur, right? And so you need people around you. You need a support network who are, even if they have criticism, the criticism is coming from a place of helping you to improve the product or helping you get to the place that you want to be with the business, as opposed to like, oh, it's just too risky, or no, like, or just having offhanded comments. Like they're not somebody who, is into wellness or fitness at all, and yet they have an opinion on, whether or not there's a market. So you got to be
exactly. And part of the journey is really doing everything leading up to putting together the product that you're creating. I mean, even if it is a fail, the lessons learned is, it's priceless.
Yeah.
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 Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of where the business is at right now, what have you got planned? You're kind of debating about, whether you're going to raise funds. What are your plans for the rest of this year and the next kind of 12 months in terms of, increasing sales or new products, or, what do you think, partnerships? What are you thinking for the next phase of the business?
Right. So, just as I just mentioned about reaching out to the studios,
Yeah.
I think because I have so much inventory, I actually have about 8,000 pair made right now. So
Yeah.
I'm stocked up, I'm ready to go. And I feel that if I can just get this core group of people to be part of my sales team, that's how I'm going to move the product. Instead of just continuing to do what I'm doing to the customer from my website, I need to actually start getting in locations without them actually carrying the product. If that makes sense. So that's definitely where my focus is. And that really came to me as of Thursday of last week. So I already see the next few months is going to be really busy with trying to get people signed on to be reps.
Yep. So there might be some people that are watching. There might be some yoga teachers, bar teachers, studio owners who might be interested. So we will put your contact details and your social handles. And so is the best way for people to reach you via your website and maybe via Instagram?
Yes. So they can reach, Instagram is great, Facebook, and then also Stefanie at Barreletics. Is my email, Stefanie at Barreletics. So it would be, I'm trying to think. So Stefanie with an F, Stefanie at barreletics.com. And then, so you can reach me direct, but maybe it is just easier to go to Instagram. I don't know. Whatever you think.
Yeah. Whatever way people want to reach you. I think, being accessible to the right people is always a good thing. So we'll share that at the end. And I guess anything that you have to share with other female founders in particular in terms of your journey, or, words of encouragement for other women, other moms who are looking at starting their own businesses?
Yes. So, I found that just taking a certain amount of time every day for myself, even before I would jump into being a mom in the morning, jumping into working, because you work random crazy hours. I mean, I found myself working 15, 18 hours a day. My son would be asleep and I would wake up at 2:30 and work from 2:30 to 5:30 in the morning, do what I have to do, jump back into bed for an hour, hour and a half before he would wake up for school. I mean, it gets hectic. So I found that if I get up in the morning now, I get up at like 5:30, 6 a.m. and I spend about an hour meditating on the floor with hot tea. And I think just be good to yourself. Take time, clear your head, and then you can get into the focus of the day. I think that's probably one of the most important things I can offer.
I love it. Yep. That's one of my first things in the morning too. So first things in the morning and last things before I go to sleep. So
good for you. Beautiful.
Yeah, it's good to see how meditation is really taking off, because I think, especially with the pandemic and and all of the horrific events that, spurred all the protests, I think people's anxiety levels, are very high. So I'm happy that more and more people are advocating, meditation, and people who thought that they could not ever meditate are now trying it, and at least finding calmer spaces and a moment to breathe. I'm really into breath work, and I think all of those things are really important, especially, if you're a mom starting your own business and you're trying to do it all. Yeah, I think that moment of self-care is really critical.
Definitely.
So thank you again for your time and sharing your story. And like I said, I'm a huge fan of the product, as you know, and of you. So I hope that there are people out there that say, hey, I want to give this product a try, or hey, I would like to be one of your affiliates. And also that there might be some people out there who could be good resources for you for the business beyond that. So thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity, and always a pleasure seeing you.
Yeah, likewise. Can't wait to see you in person.
I know. We got to plan a trip. Are you coming here anytime soon?
I hope so. Leah, my sister, just had her baby on Wednesday.
Yeah, that's so wonderful.
Baby Jordan, a daughter, Jordyn. And so maybe if we're feeling safe about flying, we'll see. Then we'll come home for Thanksgiving, stay through my birthday and Christmas and New Year's. So
oh my gosh, a lot of nights on the roster to party. I can't wait.
Yes. Yes, we will co-create some fun.
Okay, can't wait.
Cool. Okay, great to see you.
Okay, great to see you. Have a good night.
Thanks, you too. Bye. Bye.